gonna try to slow things down as much as I can. You know, realistically, I think compared to the years prior, I have been you know, slowing things down quite a bit, but a lot of you guys are still fairly new to what we do, so I'm gonna try to take things as slow as possible. I know there's news here, chat, in about 5 minutes here, right? So we're probably gonna trade post news, which is gonna be like 8:20, 8:30, whatever the case is, right? But it won't be until after news because you do have some folders here. One thing I can guarantee from the folder today is there is gonna be volume, right? That's guaranteed. Now I'm not sure what time that will come to play. I'm not sure what time that will affect price at, but obviously later on you have 2 p.m. FOMC, and then tomorrow you have something called ISM manufacturing PMI and an unemployment claim. So and then on Friday you also have NLP as well. So again, it's a pretty wild week. So you know, just keep that in mind for trading today. But yeah, overall here, chat, starting off with the weekly, it does look like we are currently in this range here. So if you look at price here, on the monthly, you're gonna notice that the monthly has 8 hours and 50 minutes left. Now, there's only 3 possible scenarios that could play out today on the monthly, with 8 hours and 50 minutes left. First thing you want to notice or you want to see is how you close there, right? That's something you really want to pay attention to, because the way price closes will affect the way we move next month. Now, 8 hours doesn't seem like a lot of time, but the thing is you have FOMC, which is going to bring a lot of volume, which will likely move price, right? I'm pretty sure price will close somewhere further from where it is right now. It can be, you know, below the ranges, above the ranges, who knows, right? But what I do know is that FOMC will move price quite a bit. I wouldn't expect price to close where it is right now. What I do know again is, this is your support down here at 1980, 2000. This is your resistance up here at 2140. This is the range that you're sitting in, right? And the only 3 outcomes that could possibly play out for the monthly closure is, first of all, is the current closure where we're currently sitting at is it closes bearish respecting 2000, right? This is the first possible outcome. And if this were to happen, what you expect next is obviously, since you close bearish, but you're still closing at support, the next candle likely will continue to drive down, which is next month's candle, but I'm not too sure what happens once it drives down towards the bottom of the ranges because it didn't close below. That's the first scenario. Second scenario is you close bullish, right? You close bearish. You close bearish below the range, right? This is a possible scenario as well. If you close below the range, and next month's candle likely will continue to drive further down after the top wick is being formed, right? Because there's still no top wick on that previous candle high. Third possible scenario is you close like bullish above the range, or you close bullish or doji, like this, right? This can also happen, which is fine. That will mean that nothing really happened this month, and next month's candle likely will continue to drive up to fill the top of the wick, which is our over idea for the monthly that we had for this month that never happened. So again, any of those 3 possible outcomes could play out here. I'm not sure on which one it'll be, but it'll be one of them for sure. But yeah, you won't find out until the daily close today, the monthly close, which is in about 8 hours and 47 minutes. All right. Until then, the only thing we can do is really take advantage of the smaller time frame, because at the end of the day, this is just a monthly anyways, right? Like, it's just the monthly outlook and what you could expect for the months coming. Dropping down to the weekly, you have 2 days and 9 hours left. Today's Wednesday, right? So tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, that's all you have left. Currently, first thing price did this week was come up and continue to push up to break the highs, which means that I was expecting overall the weekly to do so. But after doing so, if you guys go back and Sunday's analysis, we said the same thing. But, oh my bad, Monday's analysis, we said the same thing. But we were expecting price to kind of just come up, break the previous kind of highs for a top wick, and they continue to push down because this candle right here closed bearish last month, right? And if you close bearish last month, then that means that this month's candle should continue down to push bearish as well, which means that you should come down to fill the bottom of the range after creating a top wick. So that's what I'm kind of expecting for the monthly, or my bad, for the weekly, after a top wick is being formed. Now, I think the only problem really is what happens once you do come down and tap 2000. And that I'm not too sure about, because again, it comes down to the monthly closure, right? You can close below, you can close above, who knows, right? But what I do know for the weekly is that at some point this week, you should be able to come down and tap 2000, even if you were to rip up, because you need liquidity to drive up, right? even if price were to drive up the opposite way, it's got to grab liquidity at some point, which means that there needs to be a bottom wick. So let's say you close like this for the weekly, right? You close bullish. Next week's candle likely will continue to drive up, but once it forms a bottom wick. So you're going to see that 2000 level get tapped at least one more time at some given point. I can't promise you when, but ideally this week, right? Drop it down to daily. This is when things start to really matter and you start to get really important, because the daily is what we're trading today, right? And today's analysis would be heavily based off of how the daily candles are being printed and are being formed. So what I see here is there is a daily wick fill going up. However, is there enough liquidity first, right? So what I would expect for the daily to do is continue to drive up. However, you need a bottom wick. So if you can get a bottom wick first sometime today, tapping into this range to the left at this support level at 2024, 2028, and then you flip bullish on the daily and break the highs, we can probably grab buys up, because once you flip bullish, you really have nowhere else to go but the top of the next range, which in this case takes you up towards this yellow line right here at 2048. So overall, we're bullish today. It's just the bottom wick is kind of what you want to wait for and what you want to use as a confirmation to confirm that that's the low for us to drive up. Obviously, there's a chance that it might just drive up without bottom wick, right? But the next, I would say, part of the cycle for me will be waiting for that bottom wick before taking buys up, if that can happen. There's news right now. I see it, chat. 8:15 news here. Again, we can't really trade it. I'm likely going to be taking trades after 8:30 anyways. So let me just continue with the analysis. So yeah, daily wick fell. It looks like price just spiked up from the news. There's that idea. So like I said earlier, there's no guarantee of a bottom wick happening. And if there's no guarantee of a bottom wick happening, how are you going to plan out the buys up? What are you going to use as your confirmations to take buys up, right? Like what steps on the small time frame will lead you to confirming that, okay, that's enough for the daily for a bottom wick and now it's ready to drive up. So that's our job today. Our job is to identify if we're going to come down for a bottom wick or if that is enough for us to before ripping up, right? Because it's pretty straightforward. The daily is bullish. It has a wick to fill and it has a range to fill going up. It's just, is there enough of a bottom wick? So what I'll say here, right? Because I think yesterday we're in a very similar scenario. I mentioned that with the way the forward kind of was structuring in terms of on Monday, it came down for a bottom wick. And then these candles all started to close bullish, respecting the support here to the left. That was my confirmation for the bottom wick. So then that's why yesterday, I didn't really need that much of a bottom wick before taking the buys up, because I think you came down to like maybe 2032 for a bottom wick on the daily and you just drove up afterwards, right? Like I didn't expect anything too steep because you already had a bottom wick. Today, you don't have that bottom wick already, right? So at any given point, that could still form. So if you start to form some type of support, let's say at like 2033, 2032, create structure there, maybe break the lows for driving up, then you can use those clues. So let me drop down to the small time frame to see what's up here, and mark up what we got going on today. So it looks like news broke the lows, flip bullish, right? From what I'm seeing. There is a resistance here at 2039, which is why you probably see price struggling here to break. I'm going to move it up a little higher to 24.1 just because looking left, there is a resistance to the left here, right? Levels being respected here going across. I would say anything above 24.1 would be good for us to drive up towards the next range. So 24.1 is my current resistance. I'm going to put that based off of this. Based off of that level to the left. Let me see if we can put it a little higher. Maybe it could be a little higher at 24.1.90. Yeah, it should be good. Should be good there. We'll adjust it with worst case, right? It's not like we're looking for a buy above there just yet. So yeah, that's my overall resistance, right, on price. Now, what is my overall support? Where is the current range we're in at? So looking at price here, from what I'm seeing, is there are some minor levels on the way down. So there's a level here at 2037. There's a level here at 2033. There's a level here at 2030. So looking left, there's like there's this to the left here, right? So which one are we going to be selecting? I'll say in terms of seeing this as an overall range, I'll likely put it down here, just because like anything from, for instance, in this box here, it can do anything. I don't know what it's going to do here. It can make a bottom wick in these ranges, right? Because if you go back on the daily, you're going to see that the daily lows are like 2032. And you have like I guess you can say you have like some type of bullish structure going up on like the smaller time frame on the 30 right now, right? On 30 and the 1 hour. So any given point, you can still hold that structure, right? Which means like you still hold the support over out here, but you can still come down, break the lows before driving up. Like this could still happen, right? But even if this happens, you're still respecting the overall ranges and you're still respecting the most recent support. So I'll put this as my overall range just because we're not looking for sells below here anyways. We're not looking for sells below here. We're not looking for sells below here. If anything, we're looking for sells below here because that's when structure is broken, right? But as long as price respects 20, 30, what level is that? 31 today, you're solid, right? To drive up still. So yeah, I'm probably gonna put that as my support here at 2031. Put it there. And now that I have identified this as my overall range, right? That's the range that you don't really have much direction in. We have to understand that anything can happen in this range here. So what we were originally looking for today, chat, was the daily bullish wick fill, right? To drive up. And we said how the hardest part today is waiting for the bottom wick and trying to figure out where that bottom wick is. So if I'm gonna figure out where that is, I'm gonna use a smaller time frame. So as I drop down to 30 again, I'm gonna mark up some most recent levels. So in this case, I'm gonna mark up a level maybe around, I'll say maybe around here, right? And maybe another level right around there as my minor levels of support. But the most recent does show you that's around here at 2037. So let's go ahead and put that line there just so we can visually see it. I think 2036 or 2036.470 should be ideal here. Yeah, right around there. So support drawn at 2036, right? So what this level being here, what we have to understand is you can easily break all these lows here and still flip bullish. So if I'm waiting for a bottom wick, I would prefer if we can break all these lows and come down towards maybe 2033, 2031. Once that's done, sure, we can grab buys about 2041, because if you come all the way down and break all those lows while you're still respecting 2036 within this range here, right? Then any given point, once you flip bullish, that could be volume, that could be your liquidity down here for us to drive up to the top of the range. And then we can take advantage of the buys from 38 to 41, or worst case, take the buys above 41 until the next resistance, because I think above 41, you have nowhere else to go but the top of the range here, which I believe is going to be sitting at 2046.727. All right, chat. So like that's how I would use like the higher time frame to take, the smaller time frame to take advantage of the higher time frame, just by using small confluences, in terms of structure, in terms of support, in terms of bottom wicks areas, to confirm that there is going to be a daily wick today to drive up. That's it. That's the main purpose of the day, right? And that's where a lot of traders get confused, because they don't know how to use all of these time frames combined to create themselves a story, right? But all we did today was really identify what the daily candle is doing, because that's the current daily candle. It looks like it's going to have a wick to fill, right? So then we're like, okay, well, if there's a wick to fill, what's the problem? Well, the bottom wick, right? So then we drop down to the smaller time frame, and we're using, I would say, confluences in terms of, where we can tap to confirm that there is a bottom wick for a daily to drive up, or if we're going to come down to create a steep bottom wick, right? And what we know is that whatever happens between 41 and 31 is going to be a very tough range to be in today, because you may not have direction. But once you break out, or once you form a bottom wick and grab liquidity, that's your indication that you're going to drive today. That is for buys, right? For sells, there is a possibility you could grab sells within this range, or maybe worst case below 2031. However, to do so, we'll have to probably see some type of top wick being formed. Like the only way that can happen probably is if you come up, grab a high, and we're not in buys, for instance, because there wasn't a bottom wick, and this happens, and next thing you know, you flip bearish. Sure, maybe you can grab sells from like 2034 down towards 2031, right? That there's a possibility that can happen, but you're gonna need to grab a top wick first, and I'm looking for a tap into 41 minimum before even searching for sells today. That doesn't mean I'm looking for sells at 41. That just means that once it taps 41, I'm gonna be very cautious of where price reacts off 41, because anything below 36 afterwards would be a clean traffic sell down towards 2031 once you tap 41. All right. So that's the idea behind today's analysis. It's a pretty straightforward analysis, I'll say. If you have any questions, let me know, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty straightforward. We just used a bunch of different time frames to confluence our idea today. All right, chat. That's it.